Shubor nakaslem jong unong san hima.
Ka Faith Foundation haka arpasan dari uya yong arja arpasan. Kalau penong ya ke program ajing hikai banada hi khna naga jingma bat kijing Syaban ben. Lingba ke program ke bala ai kerteng Guardians for Child Safety, Schools Leading the Way halor ke theme A Safe Child is a Happy Child. Ke bala penong Habosco Integrated Development Society Nong Shiliang hajandong thamai. Kathong jogan ke program kalong ben penyajan bat penyadai ke school habaro ke jela. Bat ban aji kai halor ke jingan kam ban ai ke jingada ki khna na ginu ki jingja ki bom shingan haga jing im ke jongki baman na kasngi ka theme jogan ke program ka don ka thong ba kongsan ban bu e ki khna haga jing shingan khna ma kin san kin roi haga jing kmen bat ke jing ko jing khya khnang ban ya dai ki khna na ke jingma ke jing sha ban ben bat ha ginu ki jingja ki bom long shingan na ka banta jongki ka pensloro e ki kmi ki pa jong ki khna ki no hi kai bat ki nong shong shnong ba ki ne trelang ban sngap ye jing e jong ki khna ban a heki ka jing sngo shingan lada ki dan hangnu khnang bakin kemen bat kin la ban san ban roi ha jing em jong ki khlem kinu ki jing sngo si hagani ngi ka aga tha sangma ka bade ka chairperson jong ka MSc PCR ka longkum ka kongsan ha jing dan ring kat lang bat ka additional deputy commissioner ka East Khasi Hills ka kong Pretty Lisa ke sangma ka bala ai ka jing batai halor ka Faith Foundation bat halor ka program da ka kong peacefully marshering la yoru ban pen sngo ka jing dan ki khna ka jila ki ba Syaban ben ni sha thombor.
We have seen that incest in family is very common, but we do not speak out. Parent sensitivity towards a child, like the mother did not listen, the aunt did not listen, and nobody paid attention to the difficulties that the child was having. So instead of protecting the child, the parents, the mother, she chose to ignore the problem. Often, instead of believing the stories of the children, we blame that it's their fault. So we turn like we don't believe at them. The teacher, and when she went to school, she told her problem to the teacher. The teacher the teacher had just given the phone number, but she should have taken full responsibility to protect the child. But she did not even she did not follow up. She did not follow up what is going on with the child. And I think so in the video it was said that it was repeated for a year. So it has maybe mentally destroyed the child for a year. So it makes us feel sad and sorry for the child's helplessness, and at the same time an anger. There was an anger towards the father and the society as a whole who ignores these kinds of social evils. And the last point with which I would like to conclude is that awareness should be created among parents, teachers, so that we can create a better environment for our children.
Barrier does the daughter face in seeking help, and how can we as teachers and counselors create a safe and supportive space? First, we will discuss about the barriers. Number one barrier is ignorance. Ignorance means not giving attention to the child, or sometimes take it as exaggeration. We are not taking the child seriously. Number two is the social stigma. Even as you have seen, even the mother, if she listens to the girl and she's not giving a thought about the trauma the child is facing, but she is concerned about the society. If this come out, what will the society think about that family? Because in this generation, this is the truth. We are more thoughtful about what the society will think rather than our own happiness. We are ready to sacrifice our happiness for the society. Then number three is lack of awareness. Maybe it's a lack of awareness for the mother, for the family, for the child. And as you have seen, the child did not get a chance to come out with their problems, and it encouraged the man, the father, to move to the next level, to the next step. As teachers, now I'm coming to the role of the teachers and counselors. As teachers, I think we should, even in as we have seen, the child went and approached the teacher, but the teacher is reluctant to help directly. Yes, he did help, but it was indirectly. So as a teacher, she should take the initiative to seek help on the child's behalf and help the child open up. Because we have seen in the video, she did not listen to the child fully, only give her the number in her hand, then discussion this awareness, like we have mentioned about awareness programs, discussion in the classroom, because the teacher got a topic to discuss in the classroom with the other student to safeguard them from future dangers of such dangers. Then awareness program in school, not only in school, in society, in communities, because not only the student need to be aware of all these dangers. I think even the parents, there are still parents in the society who are unaware of these evils in the society.
As soon as possible, taking into consideration the safety of the child. The report should be to special juvenile police, because not to the criminal police, but the juvenile police. The next step will be seeking professional help. The school will arrange for the counseling sessions or any consultation required with the consent of the parents. The next steps which the school could do, the school will follow up. It will be followed up from the school, should be there seeking the counselor's report, assuring the child is on the process of recovering. So that is from the part of the school that it needs to look into the report of the counselor and then assuring the child that the child is on the process of recovery.
So this was a report that was collated by the Child Rights Commission in 2024. So there were a total of, till 2023, there were a total of 2,566 cases, okay, under POCSO. Out of these, 1,984 cases are still pending, okay. So the Meghalaya police says that there are a total of 512 reported cases of crimes against children, and out of this, 404 cases fall under the protection of children from sexual offense, that is the POCSO, falls under POCSO. So why are we here, teachers, counselors, the schools? Why is it that we as an organization, somebody said, the last question, we're talking about bringing in all the departments, all the institutions together to talk about child sexual abuse. Okay? Child sexual abuse is a very sensitive issue. Some of the points that we brought were very relevant. Okay? We work with schools. We talk about the importance of the role of the school, of the teachers to teach children what is safe and unsafe. Right? But then when you look at child safeguarding, it's not just one aspect. You have to look at it from multiple perspectives. You have to approach it holistically. So as an organization, we've been here for the past 12 years now. Our core work is personal safety. Our core work has been working with schools and going to schools, teaching children about personal safety education. But we realized that we're missing something. Why are we putting the onus of protection and prevention on children? Right? Teaching them safe and unsafe is good. Unsafe touches. They will know how to protect themselves. They will be aware. But is that enough? So, sir, this group, the last group, was talking about who are the other stakeholders that can come in to talk about or to ensure that children are safe. So it's not just the government, it's not just us organizations, it's the school, it's the community, it's all the spaces that children occupy. I think so it is important that all those spaces ensure that children are safe, or whoever is in charge of the spaces or the departments, whoever is in charge of all of those should be the people or they should be the ones who should be ensuring that children are protected.
Information about it anyway, since we deal such cases from years back. It is in fact now after the separation of judiciary, we had stopped taking such cases, only exceptional cases. But earlier we are the ones who used to record statements of the victims, we can say of the child or of the woman or of anyone who has been sexually abused. In such cases, we have been able to make case studies. Of course, we did not need to publish it because it is for our own court, but we have made several case studies. We have called the counselors, we have called the child welfare committee, we have called the parents, and sometimes the abuse starts at home. The child is not abused outside, but the abuse has been committed at home, in where it was supposed to be one of the safest environments, but it has been committed in the heavens of the home itself. We have seen such cases, many cases. Not only earlier we used to say it is very risky to keep a girl child, right? But it is not the same. It is not the case so. It is also same with the boys. Even a young boy, if we live with an elder boy behind, after the internet came, we can see that such cases has increased. There is a SPOCSO cases registered under Child Welfare Committee pertaining only to East Kasilos. Let's not take the whole of the state, let's take East Kasilos. You can look at the urban area. From 3 years, there was a case in Milim and in Mount Klang, 2 cases below 3 years. We have seen it in the internet, we have seen it in the TV or elsewhere, but we did not expect such things to have happened in our own state. Then 4 years, another one in urban and another one in Shire. Then 5 years, there are also 2 cases, one in urban and one in Maurunkaneng. Then as we see the data, we can go on and see the total for in urban area is 16, below 18 years. In Mount Sundram it's 12. In Mount Pat, just next to us, just within the premise of the town, 19 cases. Maulai. Then Milim. Look at the total. 86 numbers till now. So just look at the number. Is it not alarming? From 3 years, right, we can see now the schooling stage starts, especially urban area. Parents, why many of them, they rush to put the children to school. But we can ask from the experts, is it wise to rush our children to the school? 2 years and a half. The child is supposed to be still playing at home, taking its nap, resting, and doing all the childy things. But we push them to the school. And in the school sometimes, especially if it is not a play group, we just send it to the normal school without thinking that they are in the school and then we can do our daily activities, going to our work, mothers especially who are working mothers, they want to push the child too much. Maybe because of all these things, it may be harming the child too. Because in the school there are little grown up children too. And the child is very innocent and the child will do all the innocent things.
About the guidelines which have been issued by the SCPCR, and obviously these guidelines are extremely comprehensive, and they deal with various aspects of safety in schools, and I would just like to briefly talk about it. So these guidelines were issued in the year 2021, and at that point of time when these guidelines were issued, the NCPCR manual was serious components, the key components that would be, the school will be responsible for looking into. So the first aspect was about infrastructure safety. So when you talk about infrastructure safety, it talked about how buildings should be built, whether there are fire precautions, in terms of fire extinguishers, how clean the toilets, how clean the kitchen area, and how clean and potable drinking water was available in schools. So these aspects and many other aspects in terms of infrastructure are included in this key component. The second aspect was about health and hygiene. So when you talk about health and hygiene, you mandate or you ask the schools to ensure that regular health screenings are done, immunization is done. Very recently, we noted the deworming day, which was on the 10th of February, where so many schools had distributed deworming tablets amongst the children. Then, when you talk about health and hygiene, again, drinking clean water is part of it. Hygienic toilets, facilities, separate toilets for boys and girls. Then menstrual hygiene for girl child in schools, because we've always noticed a lot of data that talks about how when girls attain puberty, there is a very high dropout rate because of the fact that toilets are not available for girl child, a separate toilet is not available. So one of the high reasons for a girl child dropping out of school when her menstruation starts is because facilities are not available in schools. And therefore the guidelines is trying to ensure or direct schools to ensure that menstrual hygiene management for girls is done properly in schools. The midday meal schemes as well. Another component is the social and the psychological safety of children in schools. And I suppose it is under this particular component today's topic really falls. Because if you look at it, there are many angles to it, and today I think we have spoken about it in a very comprehensive manner. So what the manual suggests and tells as a guideline is that, for instance, if there is bullying, if there is corporal punishment, or if there is a child sexual abuse, then these must be looked into and these must be reported. There is also emphasis on emotional safety and mental health. Therefore, there has to be an anti-bullying committee in schools. There are many schools present here today, and I don't know how many of you have committees like the anti-bullying committee, which is sort of mandated by these guidelines issued by the NCPCR. There is also a bullying prevention program that must be done in schools. Grievance committee for sexual abuse must also be established in schools according to these guidelines. Then psychological counseling for children should also be conducted by schools. As brother had mentioned about the cyber aspect of abuse taking place, I think a very important aspect about this guideline is that this was incorporated, or it was brought about later in 2024, when we realized that a lot of crime, a lot of bullying, a lot of sexual abuse can also take place on the internet platform. So because of that, the NCPCR has extended another component in the manual, and now we also have a component of cyber safety in these manuals. Awareness, and in this we have awareness of online threats such as cyberbullying, identity theft, and exposure to inappropriate content. Secure internet practices and monitoring of digital behavior in school must also be done by schools, where we monitor what the contents that the children are being exposed to. So these are the main 4 aspects when it comes to the guidelines. I would like to say that when these guidelines were issued in 2021, many schools, not just in Meghalaya but entire country, have not really been made aware about these guidelines. There has been no sensitization. So many schools don't even know that these guidelines actually exist. And because of the rise of sexual abuse in the country, especially child sexual abuse, the Supreme Court has specifically directed that these guidelines be implemented in schools. So this is not just a guideline that has been issued by the NCPCR. The Supreme Court has intervened and has directed that schools all over the country must ensure that these guidelines are practiced in schools, and all the requirements that are being given very comprehensively under these guidelines, all the angles of which should be looked at by schools. 15. Also, just a second. So in terms of the comprehensiveness of this manual, I would say that these are all the all the aspects of the guidelines which have been put in the manual, in the guidelines, and that's perhaps all of it that I have in my notes. So I would just like to give a little observation from my side. So when it comes to this role, I've been appointed very recently, and I have been familiarizing myself with the various acts and the various institutions that are responsible for protecting children. And honestly, this journey has been really heartwarming and sometimes heartbreaking. And I think the topic that we are discussing today happens to be one of the most heartbreaking topics that we come across. Because as many participants have talked about this, I have realized that there is so much stigma which is attached to the concept, to the idea of child sexual abuse. But often parents ignore it, parents shrug it and pretend it's not happening. Because according to data, they say that almost about 90% of the child sexual abuse that actually takes place happens within your own families. You know, I mean, the abuser will be somebody who is known to the child. It could be a parent, it could be a relative, it could be a sibling, a cousin, it could be a domestic help, somebody in the school. And that's because the child has certain areas that they have most access to. And there is a concept of grooming children. You can't just abuse them out of a sudden in most cases. Often children are groomed and they don't even realize that they're being sexually abused. So we as parents,